Welcome to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show.
What are you going to do this week to move your business forward? What are you going to do? Who are you going to talk to? What relationships are you going to build? What actions are you going to take? What are you going to do this week? What are you going to do? There has to be a plan, because if there's no plan, you're going to end up getting stuck in education mode. Don't do it. What are you going to do this week? Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 173. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. Talk to People, here with the king of wholesaling, Jamil Damji.
How you doing, bro? You know
What's
what
up?
I really think we need to do? We need to take that initial message that you just gave everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to turn that into an audio clip. And everybody should put that in their phones and wake up to that in the morning.
That's it.
Wake up to that in the morning. What
You're
are
one
you,
conversation
what are you
away.
going to do?
You're one conversation away from an unbelievable opportunity.
What's your name, sir?
Come here, Nate. Come here, Nate.
here.
Look at this. Come here, Nate. Nate's closing on his first deal. He's closing on his first deal. He hasn't closed it yet. Come here. Get in here. All right. And what are you making on that deal?
I'm be making $17,000,
What's the total deal size?
$50,000.
$50,000.
Got Jamil making $17,000.
Let's
too.
Share
go.
the deal.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Let's go.
Congratulations. One conversation.
How old are you, Nate?
I'm 20.
20 years old.
20 years old.
20-year-old. He's about to have a $17,000 wire, and his life is never going to be the same. And you got that deal from talking to a realtor at a meetup.
At a meetup.
At a meetup. So he went to
These
a
guys-
networking event and just,
These guys have a real estate investing club at ASU.
wow.
How incredible is that?
Wow.
If you are a Sun Devil, make sure that you're reaching out to these guys. Make sure that you're showing up to these groups. Do they have to be enrolled in the college? You have to be enrolled. So if you are a Sun Devil, make sure that you connect with these guys. We'll make sure you guys come back up and give everybody your how do people find that club? ASU website. What's your Instagram?
Nate Freeze 14.
Nate Freeze 14. Boom.
Nate Freeze
Incredible.
14. Yeah, we're going to throw that up in the chat, guys. But, this is as simple as it can be, right? You get an interest in the business model. You start going to events. You start walking the walk, and you start talking the talk, and you introduce yourself to people. And lo and behold, what happens? You find yourself in the middle of a situation where there's an opportunity, and that opportunity turns into a business model.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what Nate's doing right now is very similar to what I did when I first got started.
I know it. We were talking about it before you got here.
What a thing.
I love it.
And Nate's never going to be the same. And in fact, what's your name beside him? Landon, and you? Kyle. Landon and Kyle, you'll never be the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have you guys completed your first deal yet? You're close, but watching that gave you both proof of concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, not to say anything about going to college. I think it's fantastic that you guys are going to college and you're learning, which is great. But I love the fact that while you're in college right now, you're looking at what can we do to scratch this entrepreneurial itch? How do we not wait 4 years or whatever it takes for you to get out of there before we actually start taking control of our financial futures and our destinies? Because most people who are in college right now, all they're figuring out is how to get themselves into debt. They're getting credit cards, they're buying stuff, they got student loans. They're not thinking about how to go out and make $50,000 bucks. That's amazing. What are you taking in school, Nate?
I'm doing finance. I was pre-med.
You were pre-med.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what that's what I did too, and it didn't take me anywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Physical therapist was $85,000. Now we're 7 years of school.
Wow.
That's it.
I'm proud of you, man. That's really, guys, give it up for Nate in the chat. What a cool thing. Hit that bell, man. Phenomenal.
We talked to a seller in Flagstaff and got an unbelievable deal. An investor, she had owned 30 properties. She had owned trailer parks. She had owned cabins. She had owned land. She had owned all these properties. She's selling. She's going to move to San Diego. And we asked her
that's
what.
opposite. Hey,
Yeah, totally opposite.
Flagstaff.
Totally opposite. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, her daughter lives out there, so she's
makes
gonna
sense. Okay.
she's gonna do
Yep,
that.
yep.
And we asked her, like, why not list with an agent? You know, you got all these properties. She's like, no, I'm gonna sell them all myself. I was like, why not list with an agent? And so 10 years ago, she listed with an agent, one of her cabins.
Okay.
And they put a contractor's lockbox on it. And somehow some other people got the code for the contractor's lockbox. And she went out there with her husband and people were partying in her cabin. And so she never trusted a real estate agent ever again.
Wow.
And people have a real problem with this. And this is real interesting because I want to read this text that I got from a student that said, Hey, Brent, my broker said they don't want us wholesaling because it's unethical. What are your thoughts on that? I said, change brokers. Most don't understand. And he said, yeah, he was okay with flipping though. I told him that's contradictory because you still have to buy the house at a discount. He said, well, at least with the flip, you are adding value to the seller by rehabbing the house. And he says, which doesn't make sense because it doesn't really benefit the seller. I think that on a flip, he at least gets a piece of the listing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, right? Let's be honest. Okay. Real estate brokers who understand wholesale, they also realize that it's not a commissionable event. Mm-hmm. Right? When you are a real estate agent and you're practicing wholesale transactions, you're a principal in the deal.
Yeah.
And what happens when you're the principal in the deal? Well, that's not a commission. You're actually buying and selling real estate and you're taking a profit from it. Right? And so again, by the way, that real estate agent who's got a realtor or who's got a broker that says no wholesale, why don't you just do transactional funding? Did you know that I started a transactional funding company?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, it's flipcashtoday.com. If you guys want to look, if you've got a real estate broker who's a noodle and doesn't want you to wholesale, close on it and resell it.
What if you're in a state that requires a license, but you don't have a license?
Close on it and resell it.
Boom.
So if you're living in Chicago or somewhere in Illinois where you can only do one assignment a year and you don't want to get a real estate license, use transactional funding. Look, the dollar values of wholesale deals or property in, for instance, in Chicago, right? We're talking under $100,000. That means your transaction cost is going to be $1,000. Okay. You could make $15,000, $20,000, yet there's so many wholesalers out there who are scared to go to Chicago. And not because Chicago lights up at night, but because they're scared to go to Chicago because they don't want to have to get a real estate license. Yep. Guys, look, there's a blue ocean of opportunity in Illinois. There's a blue ocean of opportunity. Look at this right behind us, right? And you go look at any market right now that has wholesale regulations.
Yep.
In fact, tomorrow morning, I'm going to make a post on my Instagram that's going to remind you guys of what states and what regulations are in those states. And if I was you, I would get a list in those states and I would start getting opportunities because guess what there's not in those states? Wholesalers. Mm-hmm. Guess what there's not in those states? Competition. You can get out there and literally swim in a deep, wide blue ocean, much like what Brent has on the screen here, and dominate. You know, I highly recommend people do that.
We're in a cycle, at least with the last, 6 or 7 deals that we have sent out to our buyer database of somebody going to the seller and reaching out to them and saying, hey, I can offer you more, cancel your deal, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so we're just enough with the nonsense until we can root them out, until we can find out who it is. And we're getting close. We're just closing on everything.
Yeah.
We're closing on everything because once you close on everything,
you have control.
Yeah. then
there's-
all of a sudden. So, but that's the interesting thing, right? You think that brokers would be more comfortable, or people just in general would be more comfortable and find it more ethical to just buy the property cash and then sell it for some reason,
I think
as
so.
opposed to just selling the right to
I think
buy the property?
I think what happens, right, especially when you're talking about real estate agents and brokers,
Yeah.
there's this idea that if they see on the settlement statement another fee,
Mm-hmm.
a fee that didn't go to the seller's pocket,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of a sudden there's this inadequacy or this feeling that the real estate agent didn't get top dollar or didn't do their job because they left money on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the fact, okay, is that many real estate agents don't have within their network the people who could buy those properties or who could pay that additional $10,000 or $15,000 that the wholesaler was able to find.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because the real estate agent, for the most part, is using the MLS to find their buyers.
Right.
And to be quite honest, many rehabbers and investors aren't scouring the MLS looking for opportunities.
Mm-mm.
And so they're just not connecting the dots.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the real estate agent not having maximized the amount of money they could have got the seller. It's that real estate agent didn't have the network available to them. Right now, again, at the end of the day, a real estate agent's job is to get you what you ask for. A real estate agent's job is to protect you, is to be your fiduciary if you are a listing, if you are a seller. And sometimes the fiduciary duty is to do what's best. What's best doesn't always mean what's the highest price.
Yeah.
What's best could be the fastest sale.
Yep.
What's best could be less people walking through the house. What's best could be
How about just a private sale?
a private
What if people
sale,
just
yeah.
want a private sale?
Lots of people do that.
There's a lot of people that just don't want pictures of their property put on the internet,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
I mean, it's absolutely incredible, and I don't remember who it was, and I need to figure this out. But somebody was telling me that 80% of the hard money loans that they've made are from wholesalers, or from not from MLS deals, but from wholesalers, which is really interesting. So you know, a lot of the fix and flippers are getting their properties from wholesalers.
Yes.
80%.
80% of them. Not coming from the MLS.
Yep.
Guys, put your questions in the chat. And for those of you that don't know how to do that, if you're on one of our YouTube channels, you can just type your question in there, and our lovely producer will put the question up on the screen, and we will ask it and answer it. So if you guys have any questions related to wholesale real estate, we would love to answer them. Our lovely counterpart, Pace Morby, is in Raleigh, Durham today, buying apartment building and an Escalade subject to, which is going to be an interesting. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, that guy is going to. If he could get this coffee sub too, he would.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't drink coffee,
All right.
so I don't know what he would do with it. But needless to say, I'm sure we'll hear all about the Escalade. I'm interested to hear how he cash flows on that Escalade. I'm sure he's going to make a ton of money. He's building a Turo fleet right now. I'm going to actually do the same thing. So maybe Pace and I will compare Turos.
Nice. Well, I think you've got a big head start against him.
Well, I mean, with the Rolls Royce possibly, but you know, he's got. I don't know if you noticed, but Pace he purchased like 5 cars in the last few months.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's got a new Raptor. He's got a F-350. He got a new Prius. He got that Cadillac. Have you seen that Cadillac little rocket ship?
Yeah, he brought that the other week.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Guys, put your questions in the chat here. Matt, do you want us to pick them ourselves, or are you going to pick them? Okay, there you go.
All right.
So we can pick them.
He said, do your own job.
Yeah.
Figure it out, Brent.
Here's a good one.
Ooh, Abe asked, Jamil, I heard you say in one of your videos that in the Midwest, like Indianapolis, our maximum allowable offer should be 50% of ARV for cosmetic and 30% for a full gut. Are these numbers still accurate? So, Abe, great question. What I've been seeing, especially in the Midwest markets, is an increase in activity. So I don't believe that 50% of ARV for a cosmetic remodel in Indianapolis is going to be high enough any longer. I think you're probably going to be somewhere between 55 and 60% on a cosmetic, and somewhere between 40 and 45% on a full gut. All right. So just do the math accordingly, but 55 and 60% on a cosmetic, and between 40 and 45% for a full gut in Indianapolis. And that's pretty much the way that it's going to run in the majority of the Midwest. Great question.
Does it depend on price or value?
Yes. When I'm talking about these percentages, you're not in luxury, right? We're not talking big luxury remodels here. So this is typically going to be for property values $500,000 or less. But I think I don't even know if the mayor's house in Indianapolis is worth $500,000. I don't think so.
No. I
Not
think they have a
likely.
cap on it, right?
Yeah,
They can only go so high.
Yeah.
That's it. What are good indicators of locations that have lots of wholesale activity going on?
It's a great question.
Yeah, flips, cash purchases. I mean, you could pull that information from PropStream. You could pull it from batch leads. You can go in and you could go on Zillow or Redfin right now and just look in certain areas and see, okay, how many of these properties listed look like they've been flipped, right? There's no toothbrushes
there's no
the bathrooms.
clothes in the
there's
closet.
No clothes. Everything looks staged. Everything looks new. Everything looks fresh. But I would say don't overthink this part. Just go find some property owners that have personal problems with property. We were talking about it before the show, and it's awesome having a live audience coming in before the show because it gets you all fired up and ready. But people have personal problems with their property, and our job is to solve that. So that happens in big towns, that happens in little town, big cities, little towns, whatever it is. So just take action. Just find somebody that has a personal problem with their property and have a conversation with them. And if you have enough conversations, make enough offers, you win.
Yep.
And if you need any help selling them, Keegley.com.
Yeah. The other part though, I would say that, you can be pretty confident that you're going to be in a market where there's going to be a lot of activity if you choose markets that have populations of 500,000 or greater. I mean, you are not going to have any issues finding investors. You're going to have no issues finding buy and hold investors, rehabbers, none of that. They're all going to be active in markets that have populations of 500,000 or more. So I think if you just think of that metric, you're always going to be in a nice traffic area.
Roddy says, I'm very good at identifying distressed properties while driving for dollars, but I can't seem to get in contact with the owners. Please give me something. Well, Roddy, are you calling them? Are you knocking on their door? Are you texting them? Are you writing them a handwritten note? If they're not going to answer their phone and the door is closed, you got to go in through the window. You got to find some way to get a hold of them. And so maybe try different times that you call them. Maybe try to go on the weekends and see if you could talk to the neighbors if it's a vacant property. But there's a way to get a hold of everybody. Yeah, absolutely everybody.
One of the things that really worked well for Pace and I when we were out driving for dollars, we would take a picture of ourselves standing in front of the house, and then we would send it to either the email or the phone number of whoever it was that was registered to that property. We say, is this your house? If so, give us a call. And oh boy, did they ever call back fast, right? Yeah. And now again, granted, the call they weren't super happy right in the beginning. Like, who are you? Why are you in front of my house? Oh, wait. Just calling because it looks like the house is vacant. And vacant houses these days are problematic. And I'm not sure if there's somebody in there or not, but what about you selling this house? Because it looks like it needs a little bit of love. Yep. And you can de-escalate the conversation and take it from there. But yeah, sending a picture of you standing in front of the house, it works. Yeah. It sure does.
How did you get their numbers?
Oh, we would deal machine them or batch driven. Yep. I think right now in batch leads, actually, they've weaved in batch driven into their batch leads platform. So you can literally virtually drive for dollars just from your batch leads membership, which is pretty nice.
Something just popped in my head about agents. And I think the big problem with a lot of real estate agents also is you're taught to go in there and give them your opinion of value. when we go in there, we never tell them what we think they should sell their property for. We only tell them what we can buy their property for. There is a huge difference there. Okay. If they want to get an appraisal, if they want to get an agent's opinion of value, then they should do that. They should hire somebody to be able to do that. If they want an investor to come into their house and give them a cash offer, that's what we can spend for your property. This is the offer that we can give you. It's a much different mentality. And it took me a long time to figure that out.
The other piece that when I think about the way that Monique presents my offers, right? So she's a very, very proper agent, meaning that she takes her fiduciary duty real seriously. She's never going to put herself or her client in a situation where she hasn't done what's absolutely best for them. Mm-hmm. Here's how she presents it, right? She says, look, here's my thoughts about your house. Let's just say, for instance, my offer is $350,000. Mm-hmm. Okay. And she says, okay, well, I've got a cash investor right now who will pay $350,000 and he'll pay me my commission. So the $350,000 goes net to you. I think that if you did a little bit of work in this house and if you fixed some of the deferred maintenance and, you repaired it to the place where it was financeable, I think maybe you can get $400,000 for it.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to have to pay me commissions and whatnot. And so that's how that's going to be. Here's the other piece. If you spent about $75,000 or $80,000, maybe you can get $500,000 for it. So here's the options, right? You have the option of $500,000 that requires an $80,000 investment plus some design knowledge. You've got this option of spending maybe $30,000 and fixing up deferred maintenance, but nothing cosmetic because you're not going to have enough money for that.
Yep.
And are you gonna liquidate the $30,000? We don't know because the retail market isn't as bullish on houses that haven't been remodeled or to a good degree.
Especially right now.
7%
interest.
Exactly.
Better be a nice house.
A gorgeous house.
Right area.
And that's the other part, right? So sellers that have a good real estate agent that are giving them good advice, they get to make the decision. And often when the house needs a lot of work, if they don't have design knowledge and if they don't have liquid money available to them to just be able to do a renovation and connections to contractors and the fact that they can't just walk into a cabinet store and say, you know how much a retail kitchen would cost somebody to do as a remodel in their house? Like $30,000 to $50,000.
And where are they going to go? They're going to go to Home Depot or
some cabinet
Lowe's
guy, and
And they're going to say, oh, well, we can get you those cabinets in 4 weeks. It'll be 8, right? So they got 8 weeks. They got life. You know what I mean? This like holds them back from moving forward in their life. And it's almost like there's so much unknowns going on there that people are like, I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jasmine, there was a home I wanted to put an offer on, and because I wanted to assign the contract, the listing agent asked if I was the end buyer. She said needed to find the end buyer first before I can offer.
Yeah. So Jasmine, I appreciate that you had a very transparent conversation with the real estate agent and let them know what your intentions were. But I would like to say that as an investor, right, you should be looking at every offer that you write as from the point of view of an investor. Now, investors don't necessarily have to wholesale every deal. Sometimes you'll fix and flip. Sometimes you could buy and hold. Maybe you'll find a private money lender and take it down yourself and hold it in your own portfolio. There's just so many things that you can do with a property that typically investors decide during their inspection period. So
wait a second. You provide transactional funding.
Correct.
Is that 100% of the purchase price?
100% of the purchase price.
So everybody watching here is a cash buyer.
Everybody here is a
cash buyer. Cash buyers. Everybody here.
Correct.
If the deal is right.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So everybody here is a cash buyer. Jasmine, you are a cash buyer. You are the buyer.
That's it.
Okay? Make your offer as the buyer. Close on it as a transactional funding if for some reason the agent puts restrictions on your ability to assign that deal.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great catch. Jasmine, I think we're getting too much in the weeds here with our real estate agents to explain this assignability situation. If you got an agent who's giving you grief about an assignability clause, strike it. Just say, okay, no problem. It doesn't need to be assignable. I can close in cash, which you can using transactional funding. We don't do a credit check. We can fund within 24 hours. I mean, literally, you would get, if you had the entire time of your inspection period to find a buyer and you find a buyer, but you can't assign it, and you let us know the day before closing that you need transactional funding, we can get your deal done.
Everybody on here, it's like you're Oprah. You're a cash buyer.
You're a cash buyer.
You're a cash buyer. Everybody
You're
is
a cash buyer.
Here, and I think that this is
the Rhino's a cash buyer.
That's it. Look at him, the tiny one. Jasmine, I think, you bring up a really great point. Everybody has to understand you are a cash buyer. The industry is set up for us. It is set up for us.
It is.
You're pouring the income that you've made over years and years and years into a fund to be able to provide transactional funding for everybody on here.
Yes. Because I see the regulations are going to continue coming.
Of course.
And as wholesalers, guys, we need to step up our game. We can't just walk around with the same antiquated tools that we had 5 years ago, where we're constantly begging for earnest money or asking real estate agents to defer when earnest money is due because we're so broke, right? Or not being able to close on a transaction because we don't. Guys, this is 2023. You've got Gator lenders in the chat. I bet you there's 100, 200 Gator lenders in the chat right now that would be willing to lend you EMD. You've got Jamil over here who is willing to give you transactional funding on any one of your deals. Why are you still walking around like you can't perform?
Yeah, let me just explain this. If you have a deal that is $200,000, okay, and you have a buyer that wants to buy that deal from you for $215,000, what Jamil is saying is Jamil will wire in to the title company and the closing attorney $200,000 for your purchase of that property. In the same day, your cash buyer is going to send in $215,000. Now, are you going to incur some
we charge
fees?
1 point.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
so
it.
$2,000. So now you've got $13,000 that you get to keep from this, and it closes on the same day. He wires it in, gets it back, gets $2,000. It's a beautiful business, by the way.
Yeah.
Beautiful business. But now you have, and what's your capacity?
We have 20 million.
20 guys. You need to imagine. You not even imagine. You need to understand. You have $20 million backing you. $20 million backing you. But I've never done a deal before. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But I live in Connecticut.
Doesn't matter.
But I live in Texas.
It don't matter.
But I'm so scared. I've never thought that big before. It doesn't matter. We got you covered. He's got you covered. Transactional funding. Change the go in with confidence and certainty that you can close these deals.
That's it.
Isn't that great?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Absolutely incredible. So there you go. Everybody's a cash buyer.
You're all the cash buyers.
Yep. Are you traveling?
So we're headed to Boise, Idaho.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. On June, I believe it's June 11th to 14th. Pace and I are at the Circle with Brittany Arneson and AJ Osborne.
Yep.
It's going to be a very, very good event in Boise where, AJ and Brittany are incredible. We've had Brittany on the show here before, and they are very, very heavily into the self-storage world, right? There's a lot of money to be made in self-storage. In fact, I've never done a self-storage deal before, personally. I've never done one before.
I invested with Andrew Abernathy, who builds Class A all the way up.
Yep.
And phenomenal business.
Is
really
it
interesting
good
business.
Returns?
Really interesting. It's long-term.
Got it.
He's still building them.
Okay.
So he just finished the first one in Gilbert. They've got 4 more getting ready to go. It's like a holding company.
Got it.
So I own a share in a holding company.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean,
so it's patient money.
It's patient money. It's long-term money, but great depreciation, I'm sure. Great, great long-term benefits. So phenomenal.
AJ asks, what are the pros and cons of being a licensed agent while being a wholesaler? By the way, Kansas City and DFW. Yeah, AJ, I've had a license since 2004, and having access to the MLS is awesome. I think being around, being able to say that you're an agent to other agents
It's very disarming.
Yeah, it really helps out. It really helps that conversation go a lot smoother, but it's not necessary. You never needed a license to be able to do it.
But I'll tell you what, if I had been able to introduce myself as, hi, I'm Jamil Damji with Keller Williams. I'm just looking for an opportunity. I mean, immediately I would have had easy alignment with the real estate agent. They would have been disarmed and had no problems about dealing with me or wanting to hear what I had to say. Right. So there was another thing I wanted to just say here, guys. And when you guys are talking to real estate agents, I want everybody to start taking into consideration, how are you presenting yourself when you're talking to these people? Because y'all are selling yourselves to agents when you're the buyer. What are you doing that for? Right? Why do you come off to a real estate agent like you're trying to convince them to do business with you? You flip that around, right? If you're going to embody the mind of a cash buyer, meaning that you've got $20 million in an account ready to deploy, which you do, every one of you. All
What's
500,
the site again?
flipcashtoday.com. flipcashtoday.com. Every one of you has access to $20 million in funding right now. Every single one of you. So what type of person, how do you talk when you got $20 million in the bank? How do you approach real estate agents, and what tone? Not being a mean person, but in how confident are you when you call an agent knowing you've got $20 million to buy property? How confident are you when you call them?
That's it.
Right? You can listen, I can write a check here and close this house. Let's talk about price. Right? You should have the confidence of somebody who's got $20 million backing you, because every one of you do.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting out, my first 3 deals, I went and I brought them directly to the cash buyer as an agent. So he paid me 3%. And I said, well, how do I get the big checks like you? He's like, well, do you have the money to buy the properties? I was like, no. He knew that.
Right.
And I was like, he was kind of, he was putting me down. He was pulling the big guy card. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I talked to a buddy of mine, Gus, who had a transactional funding. Yeah. And he's like, I'll fund 100%. And I was like, what? And it was like, yeah, I'll give you 100%. As long as it's a deal, I'll give you 100%.
Right.
And that day forward, I made millions. I mean, literally something in my brain clicked, and I was like, oh, it's all set up for me. Right. All I have to do is go find the deal.
Correct.
All I have to do is find the opportunity.
Right.
The money will come, because we are getting discounted assets. We are. So the risk for the lender is very low. So you've got so much pulling for you. You got so much wind behind your sails as a wholesaler. It's absolutely incredible. And it feels like a cheat code. And a lot of people think it is a cheat code. They're like, how is it legal? It's like,
like any other business model, that's what we do.
Yeah.
You find product at a lower price and you resell it for more. Mm-hmm. That's the entire do you know how many warehouses? I was driving around in Los Angeles. There's an entire section of the city which is all warehouses, and all they do is wholesale things.
Yep.
From everywhere from Persian rugs to bongs. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, they got everything for sale in there. Right. And so when I pulled over and talked to some of these guys, what do you think these guys are doing? They're buying things at discounts and they're selling them to stores for more money. Amazon
is wholesale.
Exactly.
It's the biggest business in the world.
Exactly.
It's all wholesale.
That's all they do.
Yeah. It's incredible. Here's what will stop you from having confidence. This will slow down your confidence, is not understanding values, not understanding how to comp the properties, not understanding how much to offer on those properties. That's what's going to stop you, because when you bring something that's not a deal to a transactional funder, they're not going to give you 100%, because they're going to tell you that it's not worth that much.
Right.
They're not comfortable lending that much because it's not a good deal. Right.
Exactly.
So before you get to that point, you get that heartbreak that you're going to feel. Learn how to comp.
Yes.
Learn how to understand values. And if you don't know how to comp and you don't know how to understand values, find somebody that does. Bring them the opportunity. that you know that you've talked to a property owner and they are going to sell this property, and you did get some idea of what price they want, bring it to somebody that knows how to run the values, and they'll help you so that you don't make mistakes. That's the whole point of this show. That's the whole point of this industry. This is the whole point of you guys going on tour for the past 4 years, was to squad up with people that understand values, and you go and you put your hard work into finding opportunities. You match that up together and you can't lose.
Exactly.
Because a property that is bought right is already half sold.
Correct.
It is. It's you find a great deal, you will find a buyer for it.
That's right. Heidi asked a really interesting question. I don't know if you can find it here and pull it up, but her question was, I believe, and I'll read it while I can see it here. How does a newbie with no money of their own, who has never closed on a property, fund a closing for a wholesale? Okay, so what Heidi is asking is, she wants to purchase the house and list it on the MLS or list it on the retail market to try to maximize profitability. And so again, remember that a lot of these hard money loans are non-recourse, non-qualifying loans. And there are a few 100% financiers in the state of Arizona who will loan you 100% of your money or 100% of purchase price to hold. Right now, transactional funding, which is what I do, we don't lend to hold.
Yeah,
we lend to transact. But for instance, Frank West Capital, Gus Brown, I believe that's who you were talking about. They are 100% financer here in Arizona. Now they do charge 18%, and they do charge a couple of points origination, right? So it's not going to be cheap. But what you could do is submit your deal to Frank West Capital, and they will evaluate it. And if they feel like you've got a good deal, and if they feel that wholetailing this property is going to work, they will loan you 100% of the money. And they're going to charge you 2 points origination. So you have to add this into your fee structure. You have to add this into your margins. Could you absorb 6 months of interest-only payments at 18% plus 2% loan origination and still make a profit? If you could still make a profit with that parameter, then it probably makes sense as a wholesale deal. If you could not, then it probably makes better sense for you to wholesale the property instead of taking it down and putting it on the MLS. Because again, if you don't have this property at a good enough price to absorb 6 months of interest only 18% and 2% loan origination, it's probably not a wholesale deal.
Well, that's why assigning is so powerful.
Correct.
Because even if you went, so in my thought, I was like, okay, Heidi, find a great deal, go to meetup.com, go to a meetup, find some investors that are actually doing business and say, hey, do you want to partner on this? But then they'll probably want 50%, which is fine. You're going to get a lot of experience. It's almost like an apprenticeship. But then you look at, what if I just assign this deal versus split this deal 50-50 to close on it, put it on the market? Where do I profit more? Because the more you profit, the more that you can last in this business.
Correct.
Right? You know what I mean? And so you want to get as much as you can out of the deal most of the time. And so it's kind of a tough thing to decide if you're going to get 50% of a bigger pie, or are you going to make more if you're going to just assign that deal. And typically I have found that if you assign it, you net more, and there's a lot less hassle. Because remember, as soon as you close on a property, insurance, you got to get that, right? You got to turn on utilities typically, maybe not. But you at least need insurance on the property, and you probably want to rekey it, get a locksmith over there and get some new keys on there, buy a lock box to put on there. These little things that you don't really think about. There's a lot more action items when you actually buy the property. So make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, and you've got, at the end of the day, your net bottom line is the highest that you can get it. Whether that is taking it down and wholetailing it, or just assigning it and wholesaling it. So just keep your eye on the bottom line for sure.
Guys, some of you said that the website doesn't work, flipcashtoday.com. I just checked it. It does. So
maybe I typed it wrong.
Maybe I typed it wrong, but whatever it is, flipcashtoday.com. 1% transaction fees. And if your property is under $100,000, the minimum is $1,000.
This is a great question.
So RSS Production says, can we use transactional? We can use transactional funding, but we need to have found an end buyer first. Correct? Yes. You need to have found an end buyer. You need to have had your end buyer signed a purchase contract, and they need to have non-refundable earnest money at title. Okay, the deal needs to be buttoned up. You can't get transactional funding on a hope certificate because it's transactional funding, meaning the deal has to have been buttoned. You have to have found a buyer. All the things need to be lined up other than the money. Okay, other than the money. And we will check with title. We will make sure that the EMD is non-refundable, all these things, because, not to say that anybody is going to pull a fast one, but fast ones have been pulled. Mm-hmm. And so what ends up happening sometimes, and just so you're aware, assignment fees won't get paid until after the deal closes. So I had somebody reach out and say, hey, look, we want to fund on a deal.
Yeah.
We have $1 million assignment on it. And we'd like for you to close it and then hold it until the buyer can close it on Thursday.
Oh.
Right?
So pay them $1 million
fee before it closes. Oh. And then the buyer will close a few days later. Unfortunately, we just can't do a deal like that, right? No. It's too risky. It's just too risky, right? So write you $1 million check. What happens if your buyer disappears?
Yeah.
Not possible.
I like this. George Gomez asks, what percentage equity are you looking for when it comes to pre-foreclosure deals? I love this, George. I would reach out to every single one of them. I wouldn't do any research. I would, if they popped up that they are in pre-foreclosure, I would reach out to them. One, it feels incredible to save somebody's credit. And this is coming from somebody that had the worst credit score of all time at one point. So I really understand what it means to scratch and claw your way out of terrible credit, because credit really affects a lot of random things that you don't really think about. Mm-hmm. So helping people save their credit is really, really, really awesome. Plus, listen, if there's no equity in it, you can certainly do a subto, which I think the subto community in the chat here can let you know how often they're helping people out of those situations. But you can do a subto. You can lock up a subto and wholesale a subto and make something from it if you don't want to keep that property. You can refer it to a real estate agent that can save them from foreclosure. And if you're licensed, you can get a referral fee. If you're not licensed, well, maybe you work out a deal with that agent to pay for your skip tracing and to pay for your dialer,
right? And
to pay for your mailers and to pay for your bandit signs and to pay for your website and all of these things that they can do to reinvest in your relationship outside of just giving you a referral fee. Okay. Make sure that you check with your state and make sure you understand what you can and can't do in that. But, or you just find a great deal that has a bunch of equity in it and you help them and you do a traditional wholesale. So every time we look at it and we open up our toolbox, it's either a hammer, a wrench, or a screwdriver. The hammer, not really, but is a cash offer. The wrench is a creative deal. And then the screwdriver is a referral to an agent. And if you really understand that you can use one of three of those tools with anybody that you talk to, it's going to really open up the opportunities that you have. And if you don't understand the paperwork to it, if you don't understand, how to explain it to a title company, find somebody that does.
Exactly.
Find somebody that does. There's 600 of them in the chat right now. Find somebody that does. Somebody is working in your market that'll help you out for your first couple so you understand the process.
Yes, sir.
And once you do the process, it's just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's the same thing over and over and over. And you would be surprised and shocked how much title companies want to help you get your deal across the finish line.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, look, I do a show every 2 weeks with Dina Jones from Fidelity National Title. And guys, look, Fidelity first and foremost. Are you working with Fidelity at all?
Yep.
Fidelity Title is national, right? So the reason we do this show every other Thursday is so that, you make friends with or connect with an investor-friendly title company before you start writing offers. There's nothing worse than I get a DM from somebody that says, hey, I'm in a wholesale deal, but unfortunately I used the seller's title company because I didn't have one. And now the title company won't allow me to assign or do a double closing or anything like that. And so it becomes problematic and, creates issues for you. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got an investor-friendly title company in your back pocket. And if you don't have one, email titletalk@fnf.com. Titletalk@fnf.com. And Dina Jones will connect you to an investor-friendly title company or an investor-friendly fidelity office anywhere in the country. What a thing.
For real?
Yeah.
What is that again?
At Title Talk, so TITLETALK
That's awesome.
at fnf.com. Fidelity National Financial, that's fnf.com. And look, guys, like Brent said earlier in the podcast, everything is set up for you. From your title vendors to your money to disposition wholesalers to help you find a buyer. I mean, look, Nate went to a meetup. Okay, he talks to a real estate agent who has a deal in Casa Grande. He then hooks up with the Trainer Bros, who are a couple of Astro Flipping phenoms. They helped you with the paperwork. They helped you get all the stuff, all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted. Helped you with your numbers, I imagine, right? Then he does what? He sends his contract over to a disposition wholesaler, which is Keegley, and we sell it for him, and Nate's going to be $17,000 richer. Quite, that's pretty incredible, right? How many different people were available to you to help you along to get the deal done? It's like the entire thing was just set up for you, right? What a cool thing to be able to walk into. It's great.
What mystery is left in the transaction? Is there anything you're like, I just don't get what's happening at this point?
I asked the Trainers all questions. They're super awesome about answering everything for me. So,
And you split the deal with them?
yeah,
How much are they going to make?
17.
17. So any questions you had, you asked them. But now, is there any mystery? Now that you're going through it and you're closing your first deal on what, the 13th?
Yep.
What is there something that you're like, I just don't understand this part?
I feel like I could do it all myself.
You could do it all yourself
Yeah.
after your first deal. Absolutely incredible. That's awesome. Yeah.
What KPIs should wholesalers set for themselves when they're going direct to seller?
What KPIs should wholesalers set for themselves direct to seller? It depends on what you're doing. Are you going to be marketing or are you going to be prospecting? So marketing, people call you. Prospecting, you call them. Great. You want to track your contact rate. So how many people do you call to get a contact? Okay. How many contacts do you need to get a lead? And how many leads do you need to get a closing? Okay. And then, so that's kind of the broad strokes of that. And then you have to understand from the buyer side what percentages they're buying at. But that's really it. How many people do you need to talk to get a lead, to get a deal, to get that closed? That's really it. Keep it real simple. And usually it's 1 out of 200. 200
Yep.
people that you talk to that own a property that needs some love, that needs some renovation, should do a deal, right? So, yeah. So anybody out there, if you're wondering, oh man, how many people do I need to talk to? 200. Talk to 200. Talk to 1,000 people before you hire somebody. How about that? Did you talk to 1,000 people before you hired anybody?
Oh my gosh, bro! I talked to thousands of people before we hired somebody.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have to really understand what you're doing before you try to bring somebody into your world and try to pay them to do it. You got to know what it is. You got to understand, because look, at the end of the day, who are they going to talk to if they have questions? You. Who are they going to look to if they need help? You. And if you don't know how to do that, if you haven't sat through a day, if you haven't sat through a month, if you haven't sat through 6 months of prospecting and doing the job, how can you expect somebody else to do it and be able to support them in that role? Right?
Well, listen, I have been self-unemployed my whole life. Okay.
I like that.
And I remember going into the real estate brokerage for the first time, and the broker's up there and giving a speech about this whole thing and sales and all this, and never done it. Right. And everybody's sitting there like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. That's how you'll look
Right.
if you don't put in the work. I'm just telling you, hire as many VAs as you want, because they're not going to like look at you like that, because you're going to be like their king, right? Or queen. But the fact is, they're not going to grow your business. You got to go out there and you've got to build the momentum yourself, and then bring on incredible talent. And the more confidence and the more certainty you have, and the more that you're closing, and you're going to stay, your posture is going to be taller. You're going to have more electricity in your voice and your eyes, and people are going to want to be around that. You're going to be a magnet for it. And you're either going to have some unbelievable partners and then be able to grow a big, huge company like Keegley, or you're going to be able to bring in really unbelievable talent with people that you know, or that people that are just interested in what you do, and you're going to be able to grow a real business. And it's awesome.
Yep.
And it's awesome. OG Candy Mac, happy birthday. Everybody give OG Candy Mac happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
In the comment section. Absolutely awesome.
That's a great name, OG Candy Mac.
OG Candy Mac. And this is the absolute truth.
I love it. Jay says, once you get your first 5-figure check, shiz gets real, and the fear turns into frustration. Ooh, the fear turns into frustration. What's the frustration? From not getting it as fast as you want, or not having more of them come through?
Yeah, I mean, listen, what did Alex Ramosi said? Goals are just something that you want, and you've made an agreement with yourself that you'll be unhappy until you get it.
That's true.
Right? So maybe that's the frustration there.
Yes.
That's built into that. I don't know. This one's for you.
Yeah. LaShawn Williams asked, what adjustments need to be made for lot size? If my subject property has an 8,000 square foot lot and my comp property is a 13,000 square foot lot, how do I make adjustments for this? So, LaShawn, I can't give you the answer to that until you tell me what price point your property is in, but I can give you the math. Okay. If the property is over $500,000, okay, so if you're talking luxury property over $500K, the difference there, that 5,000 square feet difference, is going to be pretty substantial. Under $500,000 though, okay, so if we're talking about starter homes, or the first time homes sort of property here, that's going to be much less of an implication. So for every 2,500 square feet, okay, for every 2,500 square feet of lot, under 500K is worth about $10,000. Okay, so this would be, if this property value is under 500K, the additional 5,000 square feet would be worth around $20,000.
Yep.
Okay, now as you're going above $500,000, it's 20%. Okay, so for every 2,500 square feet in lot size, you're worth about 10% more.
Yep.
Right? So again, if we're talking about, for instance, in my neighborhood, a half-acre lot is worth almost $900K, 8 to $900K, right? Just because of that lot size, right?
Yep.
So it has a lot to do with the price points of the property, LaShawn. But if it's under 500K, 5,000 square feet is going to be worth approximately $20,000.
Yeah, it's real interesting. We run across that a lot. You know, when you catch somebody that's in a corner lot, and they're like, oh, this property's worth so much more because it's,
a corner lot.
It's a corner lot, and it's got, it's 15,000 instead of 6,000. And yeah, there's a premium, but they're not getting double.
No, no. And unfortunately, sometimes a homeowner is misinformed, or they believe the house is worth tremendous amounts more, but it's not.
Well, the best is when they're like, well, you could just split the lot.
Right.
Right? You could just build another house on this.
Yeah,
the back of it.
You can just build a house on top of the house. Yeah. Of course, I can just put a skyscraper here.
Look at Dimitri. Dimitri is crushing it from Belgium. Does deals. He does 100 deals a year in Florida.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Absolutely incredible. We met him at the summit, and a great friend of the show. Both this show and my Wednesday live show on my YouTube channel. I bought a handmade rhino from the Maasai tribe in Kenya while being on safari, and put it here at my home desk. Yes. Phenomenal. I bet it's better than this one.
Well, it's not handmade by the Maasai tribe, bro. A Maasai boy, you know what he does to become a man? Wrestles a lion.
What?
That's what a Maasai does. Look it up.
Oh my gosh.
Look it up.
That is awesome.
That's what a Maasai does.
I'm going to take my kids there.
Wrestles a
Toughen 'em up.
lion.
Toughen these kids up.
Wrestles a lion.
Soft kids. Love it. How many franchises you got?
118. 118.
Is there any states that you don't have a franchise?
No, sir.
Every state.
We are licensed in California and New York, two of the most difficult places to receive the ability to sell a franchise, and we're approved in both states. The beautiful part about it is we made the Entrepreneur Magazine's top 500 franchises. Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, we're actually we're really high up on that list. I don't know the exact number, but it's phenomenal. I'm very proud of the results that our franchise team and the corporate team that supports the franchises are doing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really neat.
That's incredible.
Haroon Mula asked, at Jamil Damji.
It's a great name.
Yeah, it's great. What is the best market to start wholesaling? I'm based in San Francisco, and I feel it is not as easy as other places. Haroon, I want to remove a limiting thought in your mind, okay? I've got a very, very incredible community of Astro Flipping students that are smashing it in Northern California. Reach out to Jonah Korchin, reach out to Tyler Wanaka, talk to them, ask them, Angelo Ferrari, ask him, Eric Pinuelos, ask him, is San Francisco or Northern California hard to wholesale? Absolutely not. It's the same as any other place in America, right? As long as you've got investors buying property and as long as you've got houses that need work, you are going to have a market for wholesale. So I wouldn't overcomplicate it, right? This feeling that you have is fear, is a subconscious fear that's just gonna. It's that same sense is gonna happen wherever you are, wherever you work. If you allow that voice to drive the car of your life, that voice will keep you stuck. So Haroon, I would say, smash through that wall, smash through that limit, because San Francisco is a phenomenal place to do wholesale deals. Northern California is popping.
Yeah, I talked to one of my Rhino Tribe members, Mike, in San Francisco, and he's like, I need to figure this thing out. I only did 10 deals last year. And I was like, okay, what'd you make? And he's like, 718,000. And I was like, do you want to teach the class, or do you want to do a mini course? Like, yeah, I mean, I mean, the deals are just bigger. I mean, there's just bigger deals. I mean, bigger price points mean bigger deals. So
Jonah Korchin's in the chat right now. Haroon, if you're in the chat, go hit up Jonah. He's in the chat right now. Talk to him. Ask him how scary it is out there. He'll be honest with you. In fact, he's always looking for people to join him and squat up with him. So maybe the two of you can be friends. I love this guy, by the way. Mm-hmm. Have you met Joel yet?
I don't know.
I don't know that you have, but bro,
I don't know.
This
Where
guy,
does he live?
I met him in, I think it was Houston, Texas.
He's been on this show for years.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
But this little guy will pick your ass up. Mm-hmm. He will lift you over his head. He is strong as an ox. I'm not kidding you.
Really?
Yeah. He's wonderful. Tough.
I accept your challenge, Joel.
Okay.
Anytime wrestling match.
He will lift you up. He'll lift you up.
He
already did. He will WWE shoulder press your butt. Okay.
Awesome. Best way to use title companies to find us deals, buyers, private lenders, etc. Love title companies and the relationships with the long-term ones, as they want long-term business. Idea. Yes. The number one thing to do for title companies is to give them
files,
deals.
Yes. That's all they want.
That's it.
Yep.
I am telling you, you consistently bring your transactions to the same title company and escrow officer, and they will open up all the doors. And that's why I think it's powerful. I saw that somebody didn't have a great experience with Fidelity. There's a lot of Fidelities, guys, and a lot of them are run by different people and managed differently. And it was saying something about he was making too much money and they didn't want to do the deal, so they had to close. Is that happening in some states?
I mean,
are some assignment fees too big that they're like, look, you can't do it? We
were just involved in a deal where we're a local lender. I mean, we had a nice fee on our HUD, and the hard money lender says, "Oh, Keegley's making too much money." So we're not going to lend that. We're not going to lend all of the money. We want the borrower to come down on their LTV, right? Well, it just so happens that there's a lineup of other lenders who wanted to do that deal.
But title companies, have you heard of that?
I've heard of some title companies. I'm sorry, I misheard you.
No, it's
yeah, some title companies will have 120% rule. Okay, so if your assignment or if your resale is 120% of your acquisition, they may have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's a lot. 120% of what your acquisition cost is. I mean, that's a really big fee. So it could be possible that they have an issue, but it's very rare that you're going to ever do a deal where you're going to have an assignment fee that's 120% of your purchase price.
But they would close it on a double close or a transactional funding or something.
You can transactionally fund that thing all day long. Yeah, they just want you to close it and then resell it. They would even be okay with you double closing it. It's the assignment that they have the problem with. So again, guys, remember you have $20 million in your back pocket. Why are you acting like you're broke?
You're a cash buyer.
Yeah.
And you're a cash buyer. And you're a cash buyer.
It's so good.
By the way, guys,
So
just a reminder, Wholesale Hotline is a podcast. It's not just a live show here on Mondays. It is a podcast. It's got Jerry Norton. It's got Pace Morby. It's got Jamil Damji. It's got myself, Brent Daniels. Every single day, 7 days a week, we put out something on that podcast. And we just went over 200,000 downloads for the first time ever in May.
That is
For
bananas.
a month. Yeah, absolutely bananas.
That is bananas. 200,000
So thank
of you guys are downloading this podcast. Who are you?
Thank you. People
And
that are
thank
winning.
you. Yeah.
People that are winning. I'm telling
So
you,
great.
I have seen more, and maybe you're getting the same thing with the Astro students. More people have texted me and posted to our Facebook group of the deals that they're doing right now than ever before.
True.
It is bananas. People are closing more deals left and right. It's crazy. I don't know if like the interest rates went up and all the people that were just kind of like, 1 foot in, like totally bounced. But I feel like it's just wide open. This is the best year we're having.
We calculated. And this is self-reporting, so we don't even have all of the Astro community report.
Yeah.
But for quarter one, the Astro Flipping community did over $13 million in assignments. $13 million.
Awesome.
That's crazy.
Bananas.
That is crazy.
And that's what you did last month. No. I'm not joking. Absolutely incredible. Remember, guys, if you're just jumping on here now, give them the website again.
Flipcashtoday.com. That is your transactional funding source. If you guys aren't walking around like you've got $20 million in your back pocket, you do now.
You do now.
Okay, flipcashtoday.com. We can be your transactional funder. 1%. That's it. 1% of your acquisition cost, and we will close your deal for you, and so that you can get away from needing an assignment, so that you can get away from having to worry about this whole, I don't want to tell the realtor I'm a wholesaler, or the realtor won't let me wholesale this. Whatever it is, just start behaving as a buyer, because you can be the buyer.
Mm-hmm. I love this. Untethered Property AR LLC says, Brent, Jamil, we appreciate you both for tonight's episode. Money bag, flying money, money bag. In the past, those are emojis. I'm just saying it for the crowd because you guys can't see it. In the past, you have stated new wholesalers should do a few deals before they level up. Could you please tell us more about that? I love this.
Yeah, so go ahead, because I want to understand what they mean by level up.
I think that what they mean is buying rentals, developing property,
hiring a team,
expanding your team, fixing and flipping. I think that that's what people think by leveling up. Let me explain my opinion on this. Finding discounted properties is the foundation of your real estate journey. Finding opportunities. That's it. That's the foundation. That's all wholesaling is, essentially, is finding opportunities. And so if you use wholesaling as the foundation of your business, and then you build systems in your business to then bring other talent in to replace yourself in each part of your business, it frees you up to go out there and be an actual investor. You use this machine that you built as a cash machine, and then you go, and instead of going crazy, go crazy as much as you want, but then settle down, okay, and then start buying assets and start buying something that is going to build wealth as opposed to just make you rich. This business will make you rich. It'll absolutely make you rich. It made him rich and wealthy because he was able to franchise his idea, which was absolutely incredible. But that's not the typical route that we have. Most of us have wholesaling businesses that nobody's ever going to buy from us, typically. So we've got this business that's just going to give us a bunch of cash, and then we go and put those into properties, right? And what happens is, when we have the opportunity to build a machine, over that experience, over that time of building that machine, we get to see everybody else's mistakes.
True.
We get to see everybody that gets caught when interest rates blow up by 1% or 2% or 3% or 4%. We saw a lot of flippers in our market lose all of their profits in 90 days. Okay. We've seen ourselves when you were developing.
I lost
over
$500,000 in the market turn this year.
I lost $1 million in a day. It felt like a day, but it was probably like 90 days.
Wow.
For real.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s. And so you get to experience all these things, and you don't have to pay the stupid tax because you're almost like a voyeur. You're watching everybody do their things and seeing what's working. And you get to pick which model that you like the best, which is incredible. So if you want to go and buy a bunch of rentals, you got to see the best people that buy rentals, because guess what? They're buying properties from you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How many properties have you sold to like the Zach Keeps and the other people that are building huge portfolios in town, right?
Thousands.
Right. But you get to see the properties that they pick and understand and get a front row experience on making sure that you're picking the right properties. Yep. Okay. And then, so you get to, do you want to fix and flip? Are you creative? Do you want to do really cool Airbnbs? That's cool. Do you want to do multifamily or single family houses? You get to see all of these investors, and you get to see all the mistakes that they make, and you get to pick the best path that you want to follow. And that's why I think doing wholesale deals to level up is critical. But I don't think that you should do that until you build a business that runs without you. Because what happens is you try to do wholesaling and flipping and rentals and development and all these other things.
Spread out, too thin.
You're chasing 4 rabbits.
The other part is, I want to remind you that the wholesale business, again, my wholesale business, just the one corporate store, okay, will do just under or near or over $1 million a month in assignments. Just the corporate store, okay? So think about that. How many rentals do I have to own to bring in $1 million a month?
Oh, $1 million a month?
Yes.
Oh, geez. I don't know. 500 million?
I mean, just too many.
It's
a lot.
Not if you own probably 100 million if you own them free and clear.
Right.
But if you had leverage on, probably $500 million.
Guys, that's what blows my mind.
I get 40 to 60,000 a month after taxes from my wholesaling business. Do you know how many?
How many rentals you'd need to own to do that?
Come on, bro.
I mean,
unlimited.
Literally, you probably need to have $20 million worth of rentals to bring home, and after tax, to bring home that kind of money after tax.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bananas. Yeah. And it would take you decades to build that.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't just... Keegley was built in 6.5 years. 6.5 years. You can't accumulate that many rentals and create that kind of a cash flow from buy and holds that way.
It's a cheat code.
It is.
Build this thing up and then go put it into assets. I think that's what's really exciting. We get excited because we want to own property. We want to be real estate investors. We read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and Rich Dad went and bought all these properties. He had a ton of businesses getting him to buy those properties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whether or not that's even a true story or whatever else, it doesn't matter. It's just understanding that if you have this cash machine coming in, you can constantly be putting it into assets and building long term, as long as you're disciplined. And I think building an actual business and understanding the ebbs and flows of that business is going to make you a better investor. That's why it has business owner, investor in the cash flow quadrant.
Yep.
Everybody wants to jump to investor from like employee or self-employed. And then they wonder why 85% of the deals we do are from tired landlords
Right.
that
Right.
haven't repaired those properties because they don't
Exactly.
have the money to.
Exactly. I like Charles Madden's question. I'd like to get both of our take on this because he wants a very streamlined question
Look
that's
at that doggo.
that's non-noodled. Do you see me and Grant talk about noodles?
Mm-mm.
Mm.
What's a noodle?
Go watch the episode.
Okay. I mean, you're sitting right next to me.
Okay. It's a person. It's somebody who's limp.
Got it.
Who won't. And I mean that in a non creepy way. Okay. I mean that in like somebody who has no stiffness, who won't stand up for themselves, who won't show up for themselves.
Got it.
Right. They're just like, they just flop around in life.
Yeah.
That's a noodle.
Got it. Yep. Okay. What constitutes a deal? Can we outline the basic principles in a nutshell without all the middle ground stuff? Just a point A, point B, and etc. Thanks. By the way, don't be a noodle. LOL. Don't be soft. Okay. Here's a deal. All right. You go and you talk to an investor and you say, hey, I want to find you a deal. What are you looking for? And they say, I'm looking for a property in zip code 85012. I want a 3-bed, 2-bath, and I want it under $300,000. And then you go into that zip code and you find every property that you possibly can that fits that criteria. And then you try to have a conversation with the property owner. Now, the more that those properties need renovation, updating, upgrading, the better. That's where you're going to actually provide value to the property owner and to the person buying that property. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to match up that seller with that buyer, and you earn what's called an assignment fee.
Yes.
You put that property under contract so that you control who purchases that property. And then you either close on it with transactional funding or you do something called an assignment agreement where you assign it and they pay you an assignment fee.
Man, that was great. That was great. Guys, give it up for Brent. That was probably one of the most succinct definitions or explanations of what a deal looks like start to finish. Charles, I just want to give you one little piece because I think what Brent did there was fantastic, and there's no point in me trying to do anything better because it's impossible. But what I want to highlight is when you say what's a deal, I'm going to just tell you about identifying the opportunity. Okay, because if you want to know what constitutes a deal, it's a property that has some potential in it. Okay, I don't overcomplicate it any more than that. Does this property have potential? What could that potential be? Potential could be redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
That potential could be in adding value or renovating it. That potential could be as a possible rental, right? So what you need to do as a wholesaler is you need to be able to identify what's the play. What's the potential? How can somebody make money on this property? And if somebody could make money on that property, you have in your hands a potential wholesale deal. That's it. So you have to be able to identify where there's opportunity. If you can identify where there's opportunity, you can do this business without really needing anything. Just having the eye for looking for that potential opportunity, and it'll make you filthy rich.
Mm-hmm. Who determines the value in a property? The buyer. The buyer, Charles. So what constitutes a deal? Whatever the buyer says. That's it. So you got to find out what they want to buy and then just reverse engineer it. All right. I like this real quick. Michael says, so you should wholesale everything the first year. What if you found a really, really, really good investment opportunity? Still wholesale. I think about this all the time. I really do, Jamil, because there was a couple of them that I was like, wow. There's a couple Haver homes that I wholesaled that I got at just silly prices. And this is just for me, Michael, but it's not time management. It's not priority management. It's not energy management. It's attention management. And I know that as soon as I buy a property, if it needs a lot of work, if it needs redesign, I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole and I'm gonna be real distracted. My attention's going to be off it, and I'm going to get real excited about it. And it's going to pull me away from the boring stuff that I have to do every day. And listen to me, building a successful business is super boring. Like once you get it rolling, it's super boring. And what happens is, as entrepreneurs, we're like, I hate being bored. So let me go do something that's exciting. And then all of a sudden you stop doing the boring stuff and your business fails.
Exactly.
Or starts going down.
Exactly.
And so I know with myself, if I find this really great deal that I'm going to keep as a rental, it better be ready. It better be ready to go. And I don't have to do much to it, or I'll get real distracted.
The other piece too, Michael, is when you get those really, really, really sweet deals, man, do you know what that does to your list? Do you know what that does to your buyers?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll tell you what, we get good deals every day, right? But I mean, some of those home run deals that are just like Nate's deal, for instance, right? One of those just fantastic deals where you get to make a pile of money on it. Right? Those opportunities. Think about it like this, right? When your buyer sees that deal come through and they call you and you got 30 people blowing your phone up and everybody's like trying to get the deal and you got to tell 29 people that the deal sold. That's the best day ever. The best day because you sold it to the first person who pulled the trigger and got it done. And then you have 29 other people who are like, don't sleep on this guy's deals. Don't sleep on his emails. Watch his emails. Pay attention to this person. He sends out great opportunities, and I'm so mad I missed it. So it's very good to get those great deals and send them out and let somebody buy them because it trains your buyers to know that you're the real deal and you actually bring phenomenal opportunities to the table. I never want to keep those. I always want to sell those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
I just don't like there's something to be said about sitting on a Saturday afternoon with your significant other and just not thinking about business. You know what I mean? And then when you have an Airbnb and that ding happens from your Airbnb and somebody doesn't like your front doormat, this has happened.
Yep.
This has happened. And they have replaced your front doormat. And oh, by the way, you don't have the proper cookie sheets.
Right.
The same text.
How do I use this remote? That's the best one. Can you help me turn on my TV?
There's just something about just completely turning your brain off and just chilling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just need to.
Of course.
And every time I have too many rental properties, something happens. Time. And I'm like, I just can't, I can't turn this thing off. I gotta make calls. I gotta text. I gotta do this all the time. It's 7:47 on a Saturday night. I should be making out with my wife.
Right. But instead you're talking to somebody about cookie sheets.
She was managing it. And then it's like, oh man. Yeah. Anyway, how many comps are needed to constitute a deal / determine strong ARV? Is one enough?
Well, we're going to have different opinions on this, but in my opinion, okay, I think that finding one solid maximum comp, an anchor comp that's within 90 days of sale, to me, that constitutes your high comp, and that's the one I use to market my properties. I think when you start trying to find three, especially in a market like now, like we have right now, where there's not a lot of sales happening, where there's not a lot of recent sales happening, you're trying to find three comps to determine value. I don't think that that's really realistic. And I think that when buyers do that to you, they know damn well that the high comp is going to be the one that actually gets used by the appraiser, but they're using a blend of three so that they can drive your assignment fee or your sale price down. All right, that's one of the oldest tricks in the book from one of these rounder buyers to try to trick you into using a blended comp so that they can drive your ARV down so that they can get a better price. But they're going to absolutely use that high comp when they're marketing the property and when they're pressing an appraiser to establish value. You think they're going to send a blend of three? Absolutely not. They're going to send that high one.
Yeah, as long as the floor plan is somewhat similar, or you know what I mean? Like it's not 2-story versus 1-story. It's not some crazy 1970s designed house versus a 2004 house type of thing. You know what I mean? If they're similar age and similar construction and similar floor plans, 100%, you need one for sure.
Yeah,
I
one
always
comp.
use one.
One
If there's
comp.
one, we're using that one for sure.
Exactly.
That's the high end. And I really like using pendings right now. The properties that
Yeah.
are under contract in this market are showing us really what's going on.
They are actives and pendings. Actives are not, you can't use those, but they tell you where the market is trending.
Right.
And pendings are tell you where the market is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very important to look at.
Love it. TP asks, how do you convince officials in county who run the water utility center to release public record information regarding water turnoff in the last 30 days of a district? They don't allow it here. I don't know in other.
They do it.
other
They do it
states.
in certain counties.
Yeah.
It's not.
Is it county? Is it state? Is it
I
utility
believe
company?
It's county-wide.
Yeah.
Or it's probably a city, right? So I know the city of Phoenix won't give you a water shutoff
but
list.
they will give you the code violation.
They will give you code violations,
which
and
is
so,
hand in hand.
Yeah,
really.
they're pretty similar. But TP, I don't know if I should call you toilet paper or TP, but maybe I don't know. Maybe your name is Tyler Perry. I don't know.
I knew it.
Right?
What's up?
Right? When's the next Medea coming out?
Uh-huh.
Anyways, truly though, this is something that's going to be city specific. So if you're really interested in a water shutoff list, then find a market that allows those and work that.
Awesome. Ray Santos. Guys, can you touch on how to actually manage the cash that comes in the business, not to overpay yourself, not forget about taxes, and know how much to reinvest in the
What
business?
a great question.
I'll let you go because I'm gonna rant.
Yeah. So Ray, I am a very conservative person. I operate different from a lot of people that are in the space. I personally don't like leverage. I don't get loans on my personal property. I have got loans on my rental properties. I own everything outright in cash. And I just do that because I went through the financial crisis of 2008. And I remember what it was like when I had no money coming in and a lot of liabilities. And so I'm setting my life up.
Which will happen to every single entrepreneur ever.
Correct.
It will. There's going to be a time.
Correct.
Where it's going to be, you're going to go through tough times in your business.
It will.
And so
I've set myself up to manage that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me in my life right now, my rentals, they are all owned in cash and they produce money for me every month. I don't have a mortgage payment, right? And so to give you an example about when Keegley was first starting to bloom as a company, I remember when Brent and I were talking and I was telling Brent how much I was taking home, right? Again, we were bringing home near $1 million, where we were bringing into the company near $1 million in assignment fees every month. And I was taking home $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 a month, right? That's it. I was taking home just enough to live, just enough to pay all the bills, just enough to be able to go out to a nice dinner every once in a while, but $10,000 a month. And I did that for years and years. And I saved everything else. Okay. Even now, I'm not going to bore you all with what my monthly take home is, but it's a lot more than $10,000. And I spend less than 10% of it. I spend less than 10% of what my monthly take home is, and I save everything else. I take out an immediate 25% for taxes, and everything else that's available, I invest in rental properties, or I put them in a hard money fund that pays me 10%, 8 to 10% until I've stacked up enough money to go buy another $1 million rental. And that's what I do. That's how I manage my business, because the way that I see it is, look, I'm a very simple person. I don't need a lot. I don't need, Gucci, robes or anything like that. I just like living. I like living a normal life. Yeah. Right. And so, but at the same time, I've seen my tax bill get crazy. I had a $1.4 million tax bill this year. If I wasn't saving for that, I would have smashed in the face with a frying pan when that bill came in. Right. Think about that. Mm-hmm. So that's how I operate. I spend about 10% of what I bring home, and everything else I save and put away. How about you?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're different in a lot of ways. you wanted to create a big business. You had a big vision for really expanding Keegley, and to do that, you need partners.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't believe. I think that partnerships are unnecessary in our business. I think it's great if you're getting started, but there should be a conversation that goes, okay, we're going to reevaluate it every 6 months to see if we should just be two awesome businesses or keep this one business. But what I've seen 99.9% of the time in real estate is 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 5. And it makes no sense. You're just hanging out. Actually, most of the time, 1 + 1 = 1.
Right.
Because one person is the engine of lead generation and the one really bringing in the money, and the other one is the one that's taking care of the transaction. You can get somebody to take care of a transaction for $250.
Right.
All right. Most people get partners because they can't hire people, and they shouldn't hire people until they get their ball rolling. All right. And I don't care. I have had partners that are my best friend. I've had a partner, Dustin, for a long time. And once we split, all of a sudden my income doubled, his income doubled, and businesses just went crazy. So number one thing I would really caution against is partnerships. Number two is if I keep 90 days of operating expenses in an account, everything else I take home. Everything. And I don't even see, I used to just take it home, set aside a bunch for taxes, pay the big tax bill. Now I don't even see it. I'm getting taxes pulled out before I even see it. I have it set up because I just don't want to go through that whole thing where you're sitting there on $2 million in an account and you're like, oh, I could lend this, I could do some stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
So I don't even see it now. So it's after tax money that comes into the account, and I scrape everything over 90 days. And I try to take as much as possible. And I would tell everybody that you need to, it's income minus profit equals expenses. And let me explain. If you think it's income minus expenses equals your profit, you're going to let your expenses balloon as soon as you start getting big deals. You're going to see $50K in your account for the first time. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to see $100,000 in an account for the first time. You're going to really lose your mind. And then all of a sudden you're going to hire people that you don't need, that don't really have talent, but are really cool and really awesome. But right. And then all of a sudden your expenses are going to balloon up and the profit going home is going to be way down. But if you keep, and not only that, but if you don't have something sexy as your profit that you want to take home, you're going to get distracted. Yeah. And you're going to start 17 other businesses, or you're going to start doing all this other things, and then everything else is going to just fall apart. All right. Like, take the money home, make it something crazy. Make it like 25,000 that you want to take home every month, 30,000, 50,000 every single month. And until you're there, you're not going to start any other businesses. How about that? And then it's going to make sure that you're disciplined with your expenses, because if it's income minus the money you take home to put into the assets, like we talked about, but you're going to pay so much in taxes. Yes. Let me explain. You are going to pay taxes. They will tax you when you die. They will tax you when they're going to tax you. There is no avoiding it. It is the rent that we pay to live in this country. And unfortunately, the more value you provide, the more taxes they're going to take from you.
You know, it's interesting because Grant and I got into a scuffle when I was on his podcast, mm-hmm. right? Because I told him I had a $1.4 million tax bill this year, and he says I got a $275,000 refund.
Yeah.
Right, just like that.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And so I thought to myself, okay, well, you got a $275,000 refund. That means that you showed a lot of losses,
mm-hmm.
right? If you showed a lot of losses on your tax return, that means that you've got a lot of liability.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a lot of liability, if tomorrow morning you can't, for whatever reason, earn. If tomorrow morning, or for whatever reason, your tenants can't pay. If tomorrow morning a hurricane comes and blows through one of your properties, but you still owe the mortgage company, because look, a hurricane hits a multifamily in Miami, for instance, and guess what happens? You think the mortgage company is like, hey, Hurricane Heidi came in and blew this property over. You don't worry about the mortgage payment. We know you can't make it. You think that happens? No. But if all of your tenants,
the insurance money will come right away.
Oh, it doesn't come right away. Can take years for those to come in. Right now, all of a sudden, you don't have the debt service to pay. That look, This is how I went broke in '08. I didn't have the debt service because the lending changed. The bank changed the rules on me, and then I didn't have the money to pay the rules that they changed midway through the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's how it works.
Yep.
So I went broke. I lost everything. $12 million disappeared in months.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine making $12 million and in a matter of a couple of months, it's all gone? That's what happens when you mess around with leverage and leverage comes and bites you in the butt.
And you have to look at your family.
It's terrible, dude. Terrible.
Cash. I love it. Last question here, and then we'll wrap it up.
If you guys could go back to like 18, 19, 20, would you FHA house hack to like start building your asset portfolio?
Question is, if we were 18, 19, 20, would we house hack to start building a rental portfolio?
No chance.
Not a chance at all.
Yeah, because for me, not that there's anything wrong with it. There's a lot of people who house hack and they pay their living expenses, and it makes sense. They're in a fourplex or whatever. They got 3 of the units paying for their 1 unit, and that's cool, right? Does it make sense for some people? Absolutely. Did it make sense for me? No way, right? Because this is how I was living. I didn't own my first property. I didn't own the house I lived in for quite a while. I was paying dirt cheap rent. And I was bringing home a lot of money, and I was still paying dirt cheap rent. And I actually rented right up until the house I live in right now. I was renting, right? And I have no problem with that because I had no liability. I could de-escalate my quality of life if life changed for me. I could escalate my quality of life if life got better for me. But whatever it was, I was like, until I can buy my house outright, I'm just not going to worry about needing to go and put myself in this big loan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, everything works until you get punched in the face, right? Until something happens and one of your tenants stops paying, until you get a fire in a unit because, somebody decided to cook meth in your kitchen, right? These things happen. You've got no idea what people can do and how people can be. Just look at any of these wholesale deals. Look at the pictures in any of these wholesale deals and look at how people live and determine whether or not you'd want them as one of your neighbors in your house hack.
People have that. When's the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago. When's the best time to buy real estate? 20 years ago. That's total bullshit. There are right times to buy real estate. And when you're talking about getting an FHA loan, that means that the property is going to be in good shape, which means that you're probably buying it retail, right? And then you get a nice payment on it and your friends or whatever cover the payment. And you're putting all this together and you're living and you're doing that, but you have to think about this property. It's now your responsibility. You just talk to one person at a meetup and the deal is worth $50,000. Do you know how much rent your homies have to pay you to get $50,000? Not only that, look at the amortization schedule of a typical 30-year loan. You're paying off the debt is maybe a couple grand a year for the first 20 years.
You're going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest.
And right now we're not in a tremendously appreciating market. So now you've got a responsibility. You're stuck with this thing. Right now, at this point, you could move anywhere. You could live anywhere. You could do this business from anywhere. You could experience the world. You could live in Shanghai and do this business. You could live in Singapore. You could live in Athens. You could live in Rome. You could live anywhere, right? But you have a property, and you've got this responsibility. It's kind of anchoring you down. You know what I mean? And so it's just a different thought. I think that you could build an incredible business, stay focused, pay rent for a bit, and then buy a property that you really like later on after you're getting incredible amount of passive income. Yeah. From your business, I mean. That's it.
That's it, guys.
That's it.
Wholesale hotline number what? 176?
173.
173. We've been doing this 173 weeks.
Yep.
That is so long.
It's incredible. It's been an honor.
Wow.
You're the best.
Wow, guys. Incredible.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Live audience. Thank you guys. We love you guys. Live show on your YouTube?
Yeah, so I will be not live this week.
Okay.
But just want to remind you guys, if you need transactional funding, flipcashtoday.com. And if you need a proof of funds, if you're writing offers with real estate agents, go to flipfundllc@gmail.com, and I'll provide you a proof of funds.
Awesome.
What do you got going on?
Wednesday live show, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join us. If you have any questions, you want to celebrate some success, you want to squat up, and I'm going to give you something that you can implement into your business right away in the first 15 minutes. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Boom shakalaka.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.